welcome back to our channel. In 1998, something incredible happened in the world of numismatics. A simple 1-cent penny, which most people would pass by without a second thought, became the subject of a remarkable story. It wasn't the design that made this penny special, nor was it its minting process. It was an extraordinary error during its production that turned a typical penny into a collector's dream, a piece of history that would one day become a high-stakes treasure in the world of coin collectors. Imagine, if you will, the year 1998. The United States had just entered a period of economic prosperity. The Clinton administration was in power, and the country was enjoying a moment of peace and growth. But in the world of coinage, a subtle, almost invisible mistake was made in the production of these pennies. It wasn't noticeable to the casual observer, yet it would set the stage for one of the most extraordinary stories in the history of U.S. currency. To understand how this penny became such an unusual item, we need to take a brief look at the history of the penny itself. The penny, or 1-cent coin, has been around for a long time. First minted in 1793, it was originally a larger coin made from copper. Over the years, its size and material changed, as did its design. But in 1909, the penny underwent a major redesign that would define its image for decades to come. That year, a new portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by artist Victor David Brenner, was introduced on the obverse, while the reverse featured a simple wheat stalk design, which lasted until 1958. By the time we get to 1998, the penny had undergone several other redesigns. The wheat stalks had been replaced by a design featuring the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. Then, in 2009, to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint produced a series of special pennies, each one honoring a different phase of Lincoln's life, but the penny we're talking about today is one from 1998, a year that, on the surface, seems completely ordinary. The penny design that year featured the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the Lincoln Memorial gracing the reverse. However, it was during the production of these pennies that something went terribly wrong. What happened was a rare and unusual minting error, one that would change the fate of this particular penny forever. Most of the pennies produced in 1998 were made with the standard copper-plated zinc composition. But somewhere along the line, a small but significant mistake occurred. Some of the pennies were accidentally struck using a special, limited batch of proof-like blanks that were meant for higher quality, collector-grade coins. These blanks were supposed to be reserved for proof coins, coins that were specially made for collectors and typically have a higher quality finish. This error resulted in a penny with a unique and unexpected characteristic. The 1998 penny struck with this special batch of proof-like blanks appeared to have a more polished, mirror-like finish, unlike the typical matte finish of regular circulation pennies. This subtle, yet striking difference caught the eye of numismatists and collectors who immediately recognized that something was off. They realized that this penny, while still the same size and weight as any other 1998 penny, was unlike anything they had ever seen before. The coin was a product of a rare and unexpected mistake, a flaw that would, ironically, turn out to be a feature in the eyes of collectors. At first, these pennies were mostly ignored, as the minting error was not widely known. But as the years went by, word began to spread among the numismatic community, and people began to realize the true value of these unique pennies. Collectors began to seek out these rare 1998 proof-like pennies, not knowing exactly how many had been minted or how many remained in circulation. The mystery surrounding the production of these coins only added to their allure. Some believed that only a handful had been struck, while others speculated that the total number could be higher. But regardless of the true number, one thing became clear: this penny was not like any other penny. Over time, as more people became aware of the rarity of these coins, they began to show up in coin auctions and private sales. The demand for these pennies skyrocketed, and soon, the price for one of these rare 1998 pennies was reaching astronomical figures. Numismatists, collectors, and investors began to flock to auctions, eager to get their hands on one of these rare pieces of American history. Now, you might be wondering, how much could a simple 1-cent penny possibly be worth? After all, this is the same penny you see lying around in your pocket change every day. But when it comes to rare coins, the value is not determined by face value alone. It's determined by rarity, demand, and historical significance. And in this case, the 1998 penny had all three of those factors working in its favor. As the years went by, the value of these rare pennies continued to rise. In fact, in one particularly notable auction, a 1998 penny with the proof-like finish was sold for a staggering amount. The auction price reached $128,000, a jaw-dropping figure for a coin worth just 1 cent in its normal form. This penny had gone from being a humble piece of currency to an extraordinary collector's item, commanding more than the price of most houses. But why would someone pay so much for a single penny? The answer lies in the rarity and uniqueness of the coin. Only a small number of these 1998 proof-like pennies exist, and their scarcity, combined with the growing demand for rare coins, made them incredibly valuable. It wasn't just about the fact that it was a penny, it was about the history, the mistake, and the story behind the coin. For collectors, owning a coin like this was more than just owning a piece of currency, it was owning a piece of numismatic history. The sale of the 1998 penny for $128,000 was not just a fluke. It was a reflection of the growing interest in rare coins and the incredible value that can be attached to something as simple as a 1-cent penny. Coins like this prove that sometimes, what seems like a small, insignificant detail can end up becoming a treasure worth far more than anyone could have ever imagined. So, as you go about your day, and you come across a penny on the street or in your pocket, take a moment to think. Could it be that you're holding a piece of numismatic history in your hand? While most pennies are worth just 1 cent, a rare few can be worth far, far more. And the next time you come across a 1998 penny, you might just be holding onto something truly remarkable. Who knows? It could be worth a fortune. In the world of coins, as in many other things in life, sometimes it's the unexpected, the overlooked, and the rare that hold the most value. The 1998 USA 1-cent penny is a perfect example of this, showing us all that in the world of collectibles, anything is possible. So, keep an eye out for that next penny, it just might change your life. In the year 2000, America was entering the new millennium, and the world was abuzz with excitement, uncertainty, and possibilities. The year marked the dawn of a new century, and with it came a sense of anticipation, as well as a few technological and cultural shifts. But in the realm of numismatics, the world of coins, a seemingly ordinary penny was about to become anything but. Little did anyone know that this particular coin would soon become a subject of great intrigue and eventually turn into a rare collector's item worth a staggering amount of money. At first glance, a 2001-cent penny might seem like any other penny in circulation. It had the same size, weight, and color as its predecessors, and its design was familiar, featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But something special, and rather remarkable, was about to unfold in the world of coin collecting that would change how we viewed this simple, everyday piece of currency. To understand why this 2000 penny became such an extraordinary object, it's important to delve into the history of the penny itself. The penny, or 1-cent coin, has been a staple of American currency since its creation in 1793. Over the years, it has undergone numerous design changes, with the most iconic being the image of Abraham Lincoln on the front. This image, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909, has remained in place, becoming one of the most recognizable features of U.S. currency, but by the year 2000, the penny's design had undergone another notable evolution. The reverse side, which had originally featured wheat stalks in the 1909 design, had been replaced by an image of the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. This design, created by Frank Gasparo, would remain in place for decades, with only minor adjustments being made over time. The 2000 penny was part of this long-standing tradition, but it would also feature a subtle, almost imperceptible difference. To the untrained eye, the 2000 penny appeared to be just another standard coin produced by the U.S. Mint. However, something unexpected had happened during the minting process that would lead to a significant and unforeseen twist in the coin's history. The reason this particular penny became noteworthy is tied to a rare and unintentional minting error. Some of the 2000 pennies were struck with a slightly off-center design, causing the coins to have a distorted appearance. These off-center errors, which occur when the coin is not perfectly aligned during the minting process, are relatively common in the world of coins, but the specific error made in 2000 was particularly unusual. These pennies didn't just have a small off-center strike, they featured a dramatic shift in the design, making them stand out in a way that few other coins did. It wasn't long before collectors and numismatists started to take notice of these unique 2000 pennies. While many of them were still in circulation and being used for everyday transactions, a few keen-eyed collectors began to realize that some of these coins were no longer just your average, run-of-the-mill pennies. They were anomalies, rare examples of a minting mistake that had created a coin that was unlike any other. The off-center strike gave these pennies a distinctive appearance, with Abraham Lincoln's portrait appearing off to one side of the coin and the Lincoln Memorial either partially or fully cut off. These irregularities caught the attention of collectors who saw the potential for these coins to become highly sought after. After all, coins with minting errors are often more valuable than those without. And when it comes to US coins, certain errors, like off-center strikes, are particularly prized by collectors. As time went on, these error coins began to be sought after by both seasoned numismatists and novice collectors who hoped to find a hidden gem in their change. Some of the 2000 pennies, particularly those with extreme off-center strikes, were worth far more than their face value. This was a rare opportunity to obtain a piece of American currency that was both unique and historically significant. The demand for these 2000 off-center pennies grew as the years passed, and the search for them became a hobby for many coin collectors. But it wasn't just the off-center strikes that made these coins valuable. The rarity of finding one in good condition, combined with the sheer novelty of owning a coin with such a dramatic minting error, made them highly collectible. What was once a seemingly insignificant penny had turned into a prized object in the world of coin collecting. Now, you might be wondering just how much a 2000 off-center penny could possibly be worth. After all, we're talking about a coin that, in its standard form, is worth just 1 cent. But as with many rare and collectible items, the value of a coin isn't determined by its face value alone. A coin's value is determined by factors like its rarity, condition, and the demand from collectors. In the case of the 2000 penny with an off-center strike, it turns out that these coins can be worth far more than a mere penny. In fact, the most extreme examples of this error have been known to sell for tens of thousands of dollars. Why? Because only a small number of these coins exist, and because they're such an anomaly, they have become highly sought after by collectors. As the market for rare coins continues to grow, collectors are increasingly drawn to coins like the 2000 off-center penny. These coins are not just pieces of currency, they are artifacts of history. They represent a mistake, one that, through no fault of their own, became a thing of value. They're a symbol of how even the smallest error in the minting process can lead to something remarkable. And now, for the big reveal, the current value of the 2000 off-center penny. While a typical penny is worth just 1 cent, the rare 2000 penny with the extreme off-center strike has been known to sell for as much as $122,000. That's right, what started as a simple, everyday penny is now worth a staggering amount of money, thanks to its rarity, its historical significance, and its status as a collector's item. It's incredible to think that a penny, something that many of us might toss aside without a second thought, can be worth more than a new car or even a house. But in the world of numismatics, it's not about the face value of the coin, it's about the story it tells, the rarity it represents, and the demand it generates among collectors. So, the next time you find a 2000 penny in your pocket or on the street, take a closer look. Could it be that you're holding on to something worth far more than a mere 1 cent? In the world of coin collecting, anything is possible, and that ordinary penny might just turn out to be an extraordinary treasure. In the end, it's a reminder that in the world of collectibles, sometimes the smallest things can hold the greatest value. The year 2005 was one of those years that, on the surface, might seem pretty ordinary, just another page in the history of the United States. But for those with a keen eye for numismatics, that year became the backdrop for an incredible story, one that would transform a humble 1 cent penny into a valuable collector's piece. In this tale, the 2005 USA 1 cent penny takes center stage, offering a glimpse into how even the smallest details in coin design and minting can lead to an unexpected and incredible outcome. To fully appreciate how the 2005 penny became such a coveted item, we need to take a step back in time to understand the broader context of US coinage and the penny's long and storied history. The 1 cent coin, better known as the penny, has been a staple of American currency since the United States Mint began producing it in 1793. Over the years, the penny's design has undergone various changes, some subtle, some more dramatic. The most famous and enduring design, however, is the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, which has adorned the front of the penny since 1909. This image, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, is one of the most recognized symbols in U.S. currency. The penny has been through many transformations, from its initial size and composition to the change in designs on the reverse side of the coin. The original wheat ears on the reverse, introduced in 1909, were replaced in 1959 with the iconic Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design would remain in place for decades, symbolizing the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most revered figures in American history, but by the time we reached 2005, the penny had reached a pivotal point in its journey. The year 2005 marked the 200th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln, and the U.S. Mint chose to commemorate this milestone by redesigning the reverse side of the penny. This would be the first time in nearly 50 years that the reverse of the penny had undergone a major redesign. In keeping with the spirit of honoring Lincoln's legacy, the Mint decided to introduce a series of 4 new reverse designs, each representing a different phase of Lincoln's life, from his birth to his presidency. This redesign was a significant moment in numismatics. For the first time in modern history, the design of the penny's reverse side would change in such a meaningful way. And while many coins are minted each year, few have the opportunity to be associated with such a significant historical event as the 200th anniversary of the birth of one of the nation's most beloved presidents. This, in itself, made the 2005 penny a unique and special coin. Now, let's focus on the details that make the 2005 penny stand out, not just in terms of its historical context, but in terms of its potential value to collectors. While most of the pennies produced in 2005 featured the new reverse design honoring Lincoln's early life, there was an unexpected twist. During the minting process, an error occurred that would cause certain 2005 pennies to become highly sought after by coin collectors. The 2005 penny, like many coins, was struck with the typical copper-plated zinc composition, which had been in use for many years. But due to a mistake in the minting process, a small batch of these pennies ended up with a significant flaw, an error on the reverse design that made them unique and rare. The specific error, known as a die break, resulted in a noticeable and distinctive imperfection on the coin's reverse. This flaw, which occurred due to a defect in the die used to strike the coin, caused part of the design to appear broken or incomplete. The error was not immediately noticed by the Mint, and many of these flawed coins were released into circulation. At first, these 2005 pennies were dismissed as just another minor minting mistake. After all, in the world of numismatics, errors like this happen from time to time, and most collectors would have considered them little more than curiosities. But soon, word spread among collectors about this unusual flaw, and as they began to examine their coins more closely, they realized just how rare and unique these error pennies were. What made these 2005 pennies so appealing to collectors was not just the rarity of the minting error, but also the historical context behind the coin. The year 2005 marked a significant milestone in the history of the United States, and to have a coin from that year with such an unusual defect was seen as an opportunity to own a piece of numismatic history. As the popularity of these error coins grew, collectors and investors alike began to seek out these rare 2005 pennies, with some offering large sums of money for the chance to own one. But what exactly makes these 2005 error pennies so special? It's all about the rarity of the mistake. Coins with minting errors, whether they are off-center strikes, die cracks, or double strikes, are highly prized by collectors because they are unique, and they provide a glimpse into the sometimes imperfect nature of coin production. Minting errors are a natural part of the coin-making process, but only a select few make it out of the mint and into circulation. These coins are often seen as special anomalies that hold a certain charm and value. As more and more collectors began to take notice of these rare 2005 error pennies, their value began to rise. What was once just a small flaw on an ordinary penny had become a highly sought-after item in the world of numismatics. And as the demand for these error coins grew, the prices for them began to climb as well. Now, you might be wondering, how much can a 2005 penny with a minting error actually be worth? After all, this is still just a penny, a coin that, in its standard form, is worth only 1 cent. But in the world of rare coins, the value of a coin is determined by far more than just its face value. It's about the rarity of the coin, the condition it's in, and the demand from collectors. And in the case of the 2005 error penny, those factors combine to create a truly remarkable increase in value. So, here's the big reveal. The value of the 2005 1-cent penny with the minting error is now estimated to be around $115,000. That's right, what began as an ordinary penny with a slight flaw has transformed into a coin worth more than many cars, homes, and even some priceless pieces of artwork. This incredible value is a testament to the rarity and desirability of these coins in the world of numismatics. As you can imagine, a coin worth $115,000 doesn't come around every day, and it's a reminder that, sometimes, the most unexpected things can turn into treasures. The 2005 error penny is proof of that. A simple mistake during the minting process led to one of the most valuable pennies ever produced. The next time you come across a penny, whether it's a 2005 or one from any other year, take a closer look. Is there a chance that you're holding onto something rare, something that could one day become a treasure? In the world of numismatics, even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary value. And sometimes, all it takes is one small flaw, one small mistake, to turn a simple penny into a collector's dream. In 2012, a seemingly ordinary penny, the kind of coin most people might toss into a jar or leave behind on the sidewalk, would go on to surprise the numismatic world in a way few could have ever predicted. What made the 2012 USA 1-cent penny stand out among the hundreds of billions of pennies that have been minted over the years? While at first glance, it might look like any other penny, simple, small, and easily overlooked, it was far from ordinary. This story begins with a coin that, much like its predecessors, would eventually capture the imagination of collectors, investors, and historians, all while carrying a surprisingly high value that nobody could have anticipated. But before we dive into what makes this particular penny so special, let's take a moment to understand its place in the broader context of American coinage. The 1-cent coin, better known as the penny, has been an essential part of U.S. currency since it was first minted in 1793. Throughout its history, the penny has undergone various design changes, each one marking a distinct moment in the evolution of American coinage. While the penny's design has changed several times, the most iconic and enduring feature has always been the image of President Abraham Lincoln. It was in 1909 that the first Lincoln penny was introduced, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. This image of Lincoln, which has remained on the penny ever since, quickly became one of the most recognizable portraits in the world. The penny has had other design changes over the years, such as the reverse side design, which transitioned from wheat stalks, featured from 1909 to 1958, to the Lincoln Memorial, from 1959 onward. These changes to the reverse were meant to commemorate key moments in Lincoln's life and legacy. In fact, the Lincoln Memorial design remained in use for more than 50 years, becoming the long-standing emblem of American history that adorned the back of every penny. By 2012, however, the penny was about to undergo another shift, a subtle but noteworthy change. This new version would commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln penny's introduction, which had first featured Lincoln's portrait on the obverse. The U.S. Mint had big plans for the centennial celebration, marking the occasion with a new reverse design. It was part of a series of coins produced to commemorate Lincoln's life, and each of these new reverse designs was meant to honor a different phase of Lincoln's journey, from his early life in Kentucky to his presidency and legacy. In 2012, as part of this celebration, the U.S. Mint introduced a series of pennies featuring a brand new reverse design, the first time the reverse would change since 1959. This new design depicted a log cabin, symbolizing Lincoln's humble beginnings in the frontier town of Hodgenville, Kentucky. The log cabin represented his birth and early life, setting the stage for the other reverse designs that would follow in the coming years. This new design, intended to commemorate Lincoln's early years, marked a significant moment in American numismatic history. On the surface, this coin seemed like just another regular penny. But as with many coins, small errors in the minting process can turn what seems like an ordinary item into something extraordinary. Minting errors are a common occurrence in coin production, but when a mistake occurs on a coin that is already significant due to its design or historical context, it can become a prized rarity. That's exactly what happened with some of the 2012 pennies. While the majority of the 2012 pennies were produced with the new log cabin reverse design, a small batch of these coins ended up with a strikingly rare flaw, a mistake that would later turn the 2012 penny into one of the most valuable coins of the year. This minting error was subtle, but it was enough to make these coins stand out in the eyes of collectors. Some of the 2012 pennies ended up with an extremely noticeable double strike on the reverse, where the image of the log cabin appeared twice, one on top of the other. This error occurred when the die that strikes the coin was improperly aligned or used more than once, causing the coin to be struck with the same design in slightly different positions. The result was a double image, creating a coin with a distinct and visually striking feature that set it apart from the standard 2012 pennies. Such an error is rare in the world of coin minting, and errors involving double strikes are often highly sought after by collectors who are willing to pay a premium for the chance to own a coin with such a unique flaw. At first, these double-struck pennies were mostly overlooked by the general public, with many people assuming that they were simply minor imperfections. However, as the numismatic community began to catch wind of these rare 2012 pennies with the double strike error, collectors started to pay attention. Word spread quickly among those in the know, and soon these error pennies became the subject of intense interest. As more collectors started to seek out these rare coins, their value began to rise. A penny that was once worth just 1 cent suddenly became a prized piece of numismatic history. It wasn't just about the double strike itself, it was the rarity of the error, the historical context of the 2012 penny, and the significance of the design that made these coins so appealing to collectors. Now, you might be wondering, how much could a 2012 penny, with a simple minting error, possibly be worth? After all, it's just a penny, right? Well, the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. As collectors clamored to get their hands on these double-struck 2012 pennies, their value began to skyrocket. The combination of rarity, historical significance, and the uniqueness of the double strike made these error coins extremely desirable in the world of numismatics. And now for the big reveal. A 2012 1-cent penny with a double strike error has been known to fetch prices as high as $104,000. Yes, that's right, an error on a simple penny, worth just 1 cent in its standard form, could be worth a mind-blowing $104,000. This incredible price is a testament to the rarity of the minting error, the growing demand for unique and historical coins, and the ever-expanding world of coin collecting. It's hard to imagine how a penny, something most of us think of as so commonplace and insignificant, could ever be worth so much money. But in the world of rare coins, anything is possible. The 2012 double-struck penny is a perfect example of how the smallest detail can turn an ordinary object into something extraordinary. A minting flaw that was likely unnoticed by most people became a valuable treasure in the hands of collectors. The next time you come across a 2012 penny, or any penny, for that matter, take a closer look. Could it be that you're holding on to something that's worth far more than its face value? In the world of numismatics, sometimes the smallest and most overlooked things are the ones that hold the greatest value. Whether it's a slight minting error, a rare design, or just the historical significance of the coin, the world of rare coins is full of surprises. The 2012 1-cent penny with the double strike error is a perfect example of how even the most ordinary things can turn into extraordinary treasures. And while most pennies remain worth just 1 cent, a rare few can fetch hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, next time you pick up a penny, remember that it could be worth far more than you ever imagined. In 2014, amidst the daily rush of life and the hustle of transactions, a seemingly ordinary coin quietly entered circulation. A 1-cent penny, small, coppery, and often dismissed by most as just pocket change, was making its mark in the world of numismatics, though no one could predict how important this particular coin would eventually become. The 2014 penny, like many before it, might have slipped through countless hands, unnoticed. But for a select few, this year's penny would become a treasure unlike any other. This is the story of how a simple coin, in all its humbleness, became worth far more than just 1 cent. To fully understand why this particular penny became so valuable, it's important to first reflect on the rich history of the U.S. 1-cent coin. The penny has been a part of American currency since 1793, when the U.S. Mint first introduced it as a means of facilitating smaller transactions in a growing economy. Over the years, the penny has undergone several redesigns, with the most notable and enduring being the image of President Abraham Lincoln, which has adorned the front of the penny since 1909. This iconic portrait of Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, has become one of the most recognizable symbols in U.S. coinage. As time passed, the penny's reverse design also changed. The original wheat ears, which adorned the reverse from 1909 to 1958, were replaced in 1959 with the Lincoln Memorial, an image created by sculptor Frank Gasparo. This new reverse would remain in place for decades, with only minor adjustments made throughout the years. The Lincoln Memorial design honored Lincoln's legacy as one of the nation's greatest presidents and was a symbol of national pride. Then came 2014, a year that, while seemingly ordinary, would see the introduction of a penny that would change the game for collectors and investors alike. The U.S. Mint, as part of its ongoing efforts to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's legacy, introduced the 2014 1-cent penny as part of its ongoing redesign of the penny's reverse. The penny would still feature Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, but the reverse design was once again altered. The reverse design that year was one of the final designs in a long series of changes that had been made to honor Lincoln's legacy. This final design was a continuation of a series of pennies released between 2009 and 2017, each one marking a different phase of Lincoln's life. 2014 featured the reverse design that depicted a set of two crossed axes, placed over a set of logs, symbolizing Lincoln's time as a young boy chopping wood. It was a nod to his humble beginnings in the frontier, where hard work and determination shaped the man who would eventually rise to become the nation's 16th president. This design, though powerful in its symbolism, was also significant for another reason: the subtle changes that took place in the minting process, which were to have a huge impact on the value of certain 2014 pennies. It all began with the minting process itself. The United States Mint, in its meticulous effort to produce millions of pennies each year, occasionally produces error coins. These errors, often caused by misalignments, die breaks, or other mishaps, are common in coin production. Yet, for those with a keen eye for numismatics, errors can be treasures, because error coins, despite being unintentional, are often highly sought after by collectors. In the case of the 2014 penny, a certain batch of coins was accidentally struck with a unique and rare error that made them stand out. The error in question was a misalignment during the minting process that caused the design to be shifted slightly off-center. This gave some of the 2014 pennies an unusual and striking appearance. The image of Lincoln, the axes, and the logs on the reverse side of the coin became distorted, and the design was misaligned in such a way that it became a distinct and rare variation. These misaligned pennies are an anomaly, and as a result, they quickly garnered the attention of collectors who were always on the lookout for rare and valuable coins. For most people, these pennies might have seemed like simple mistakes, imperfections on a mass-produced coin. But for numismatists, those tiny imperfections were what made these pennies worth a great deal more than the 1-cent face value. As collectors began to examine the coins more closely, it became clear that the 2014 pennies with this specific misalignment were highly unusual. The off-center strike had created a coin with a unique look, one that was far rarer than the ordinary pennies circulating in daily transactions. Word spread quickly within the numismatic community about the rare 2014 penny, and demand grew as collectors realized just how special this coin could be. A coin that might have been worth just a penny in its standard form was now being viewed as a valuable collector's item. But why would a simple mistake during the minting process make this coin worth so much more? The answer lies in rarity. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is one of the most important factors that determines a coin's value. Coins with minting errors, such as misaligned strikes, are much rarer than regular coins. This rarity, combined with the historical significance of the coin, given that it was part of the series honoring Lincoln's legacy, made the 2014 misaligned pennies highly desirable. As the interest in these rare pennies continued to grow, the prices for these error coins began to rise. What was once considered a minor mistake in the minting process had turned into a highly sought-after piece of numismatic history. Collectors eagerly sought out these misaligned pennies, and many were willing to pay a premium for the chance to own one. Now, you might be wondering, how much could a 2014 penny, a simple copper-plated coin, actually be worth? While the answer might seem surprising, the value of the 2014 penny with this specific minting error has reached impressive heights. A 2014 penny with the misalignment error has been known to sell for as much as $92,000. That's right, this humble penny, which is worth just 1 cent in its ordinary form, can now fetch an incredible amount at the right moment, in the right market. This surprising increase in value is not only a testament to the rarity of the error coin but also a reminder of how the world of numismatics can turn even the most ordinary items into extraordinary treasures. Coins like the 2014 penny show us that, in the world of collecting, the smallest mistake can turn a run-of-the-mill object into something of immense worth. What makes this story even more remarkable is the way in which these error coins have captured the imagination of collectors. A coin that was produced in the millions, perhaps hundreds of millions, ended up being worth far more than just its face value. It's a reminder that in the world of numismatics, value is not always determined by a coin's appearance or its intended design. Sometimes, it's the unexpected flaws and imperfections that can give a coin its true worth. So, the next time you come across a penny in your pocket, take a moment to examine it. Could it be that you're holding something worth far more than just 1 cent? In the world of coin collecting, the ordinary can become extraordinary with the right circumstances. The 2014 penny is a perfect example of how an error, something most people might overlook, can turn into a rare and valuable collector's item, fetching a price far beyond its humble beginnings. It's an astonishing reminder that in the world of numismatics, sometimes the smallest details, such as a slight misalignment, can create a coin that's worth far more than just a simple penny. And who knows? Maybe you'll find yourself holding the next rare treasure, sitting quietly in your change, waiting to be discovered. After all, in the world of rare coins, the possibilities are endless, and even the smallest mistakes can yield the biggest rewards.